Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And Lorenzo, on this episode, I want to talk about the idea of being able to have the self-awareness and ability to look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself around the issues that you have that you're trying to work through, or the things you're trying to accomplish, the ability to see how you are reflected on yourself, that I think a lot of people miss the ability to do, or they're afraid to do it, or they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror. And I think it's important to do that, but it also has to go into the context of making sure that the reflection you see back in the mirror actually aligns with what other people see in you too. And oftentimes, I think the reason why people have a tendency to not want to look at themselves in the mirror is that they understand that how they're viewed by others is not the same as how they want to see themselves. And that lack of alignment prevents them from looking at themselves in the mirror to begin with, or seeking feedback from others.
Yeah, I think it's such a great conversation, and so many components of things like a self-awareness and the perception of others, and how do you show up as a leader, both being authentic but also being clear about the impact that you have, and are you actually the leader that you think you are? Or do you think you're the aspirational version of that leader? These are so many things that I know you and I have talked about many times, but just a part of my own personal journey and personal learning and development. Like, these things matter so much, and the quicker and sooner that you can understand what they are, how they shape you, how you impact others, how people perceive you, how you perceive yourself. Like, these things are so important to not only building the confidence of leading people, but being comfortable to be yourself, and being able to look in the mirror and know that you are authentically you, while at the same time realizing that as a leader, how you show up for others also has to take into account what they need from you. So it's
Right.
it's a really, really good conversation, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think back to something I heard from, I believe it was the first female CEO of Pepsi, said that it's important to articulate the qualities that you have as a leader, that you want to be seen as. And so if I want to be seen as a person of integrity, if I want to be seen as a person who is trustworthy, that it's not just important to act in that way, but to actually articulate that to people, to say, what's important to me is that I'm a person of integrity. Not that I want to be seen as a person of integrity, but that I am a person of integrity. Or it's important to me that it's important that you can trust me. Meaning it's important that I'm honest, of course. And so if you articulate those things and your actions don't align with them, then you're essentially shining a spotlight on the ways in which your actions and your and how you want to be seen don't align with each other. And so a lot of people are hesitant to articulate those things to begin with. But if you can get to a place where the things that you articulate about yourself in the ways that you want to be seen by others, if you use that as a way to hold yourself accountable to actually acting in that way, oftentimes it's what a person needs in order to act that way. It goes back to the whole, like, if my goal is to get healthy and lose weight, putting it out on Facebook or Twitter that this is my goal this year, it invites others in to the accountability process, as opposed to you just trying to hold yourself accountable. Saying these words of, I am a person of integrity, or I am trustworthy, or I am committed to helping my team achieve its goals. Saying that out loud puts a person on the hook for acting in a way that is in accordance with those things. And so if we start there, then now you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror to say, okay, am I actually doing those things? I've articulated this, that this is important to me, that I'm a person of integrity, or that I'm committed to helping this person achieve their goals. If I say that, then I have to act in that way. And if I'm unable to act in that way, then one of two things has to change. Either my goals of how I want to be seen by others, or how I want to look at myself in the mirror, either those are not possible or inaccurate, or I don't have the ability to do them, or it means that I am not strong enough to do them. I can't, I don't have the personal growth done necessary in order to be able to act in that way. But if I do those things, and I hold myself accountable to those things, then it's very, very important that if I've invited somebody into the accountability process to start, that I also invite them into the accountability process along the way, to level set with them along the way, and to gut check with them, and to find out if the actions that I'm doing aren't just aligning with how I see myself in my own mind, but that others see me in that way too, or if I'm not doing enough, or if I'm doing enough but I'm not vocal enough about it, or I'm doing it kind of, I don't want to, I want to be humble. So I work in spirit of this, but I don't really tell anybody that I'm doing it because I want to be seen as a humble person, almost to my detriment. Like I'm not letting people know that I've done this work. There's a lot that goes into this, but it's important that along the way that you're A, looking at yourself in the mirror, but B, you are figuring out how you are reflected on others as well. Because if that doesn't align, that is the inherent problem. How you see yourself and how others see you, that needs to align. It might align in a bad way, meaning how you see yourself might be a negative, and how others see you is also a negative. But that's actually less of a problem than if how you see yourself is a positive and how they see you as a negative, right? That's a very different problem. So that alignment is key. And the only way to get that alignment in order to be able to make the changes necessary is to make sure that you are taking into account your own reflection and others on you.
Yeah, I love the part that you talked about, like inviting people on the journey. And being really conscious of who you have on that journey. And I think that it's the part about leading teams and being a leader is that you're going to have people on your team that will immediately positively react to your leadership style, your demeanor, how you get work done. The things that you prioritize are also kind of things that they prioritize. The things that you value are things that they're good at. And then you're also going to have those that you lead where it might be the opposite, where you don't have a similar style of communication or demeanor. You may not have the same priorities in life or profession. Like I had this conversation a million times with leaders where they're just like, well, everybody should want to do, everybody should want to be like exceeding whatever their, expectations are. They should all want to do like get a promotion and get the next job. And I have to be like, no.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Yeah,
right.
They don't, right?
Right.
And that's okay. And they don't want you don't have to have them run up to you and be like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, I want to take over the world here. I want to do everything here. You're gonna have people that are like, hey, like I'm good. I enjoy this job. For me, it might be something that it's just like it works well for me. It pays some of my bills. And I enjoy it. But I'm not looking for more. Right? And so like that can shatter some leaders' brains sometimes. To be like, how is that even possible? But I share that because you're going to have people on your team that they're not as easy to lead. They're not as easy to break through quickly. There's not going to be this instant exchange of kind of trust and alignment and stuff like that. But they can be such a big part as well of that being the mirror to your leadership, because they're the ones that actually 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, when you now have this established relationship, when you now have had enough interactions and things that you've done where maybe they open up a little bit about personal life, maybe they, they share, maybe they find inspiration to want to do more. Like those are the ones that we actually hold on to the most, because it wasn't easy and it didn't happen immediately. But we tend to not invite them on the journey. And I think that's where it can be tough for us to get what we need to learn and to grow and to receive insights or feedback or whatever from everyone to help us be the best leader possible. We tend to say like, I'll invite the ones that make it fun. I'll invite the ones that are like, yeah, of course, Lorenzo, of course we want to help you. Of course, like that would be amazing. Actually, I need to go to the ones and say, hey, I'm really working on my leadership and it's something that I want to get good at. And I know that a part of that is I need to learn how to lead people and support people that may see things differently and do things differently than I do. And I've recognized that you can be that person for me. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I need you. I need your help here. I think that, because it's not as easy as it might be for me to build a relationship with you that I do with other people, I think you can help me with that, because I think that there are people that I'm going to lead that may see the world or the work more similar to how you do than I do. And I want to invite you on this journey, and I'm going to need your help. And would you mind helping me with that? And I think that those conversations and that transparency and that dialogue can be super impactful when you are shaping your leadership over time and you're thinking about, how do I leverage all different aspects of my people to help me get better?
Right. The who is 100% important, but that doesn't mean that everybody needs to be a part of it, right? So again, yes, it's important to bring people, like some of the most important people are the ones who will challenge your ability as a leader, in terms of if it's natural to you to lead people from the carrot and stick perspective. Like, somebody wants something, they want to get ahead, they want to move up. I know how to make that happen. I know how to develop them in a way that gets their skills better, that gets them promoted. That I can validate what they're doing, and the work that they're doing is in spirit of my goals because I want to get ahead. That's the easy one, obviously. The people who have different goals than you, or different desired outcomes than you, are the harder ones to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all of those people are necessary for the journey too. If a person has different goals than you, or actually even if they have the same goals as you, but you don't know definitively that you have a relationship with them where they can be trustworthy, you can trust what they're saying to you. If they're going to be saying what they think you want to hear versus what you actually need to hear, that is the part that is most important. So it's a double-edged sword here. You have to invite people in who have different goals than you, people who challenge your natural abilities as a leader, to get better in the places where you don't necessarily over-index on the leadership skills you're trying to get better at, without inviting people in who are just naysayers, right? Like, if a person is good where they are, they, as you put it, they don't want to get promoted, they're fine with their job and they do their best, then that might be the right person to get involved. But if that person is good where they are because they just don't care, they're not committed to actually doing their current job well. They just don't want to get promoted. They don't want to move up. You can't dangle something in front of them in order to get promoted so they're good, but they can still have the transparency with you needed in order to help your own leadership journey and to get better at the skills you're trying to get better at. That's kind of the sweet spot of where that intersection is of the people you have to get involved. So it's not the easy ones who both align with you and will be honest with you. And it's not the ones that you can very easily, kind of exclude, which is they're not aligned with you and they don't care. It's the people who are aligned with you on the transparency and the relationship, regardless of whether or not there are alignments of the goals or the outcomes desired or how they want to move forward. And having people in both of those camps, people who are aligned with you as far as goals, and people who are not, but all of those people are committed to being honest with you and helping you get better as a leader, and making sure that how you want to be seen and how you look at yourself in the mirror is how that person sees you. That is the important part, is that alignment right there, not the goals alignment or the outcomes or I want to run this company someday. Like, that doesn't matter as much. It's a hard thing to do unless you have a relationship with the people already. And so that's why, there are plenty of people who will say, show me your circle and I'll tell you your future, right? Like, the people who you spend the most time with are the ones who will dictate, where you are going and how you're moving forward. And what that really means is the people who will hold you accountable to the way that you want to be seen, in a way that challenges you to not just be complacent and being okay with, hey, this is how I see myself, this is how they see me, that aligns, I'm good there. No. It's how do you want to be seen in places where you struggle with that and you're trying to get better, but it's the right thing to do. You need to get better at these things. the people who will challenge you and that will be more difficult to look at and get their reflection of you and get their feedback on you, the things that are harder to hear, that is where the rubber meets the road. Those are the people you have to involve in the process and engage with. So it's not just a catch-all. It is a very intentionally fine-tuned group of people that you bring into this process, because at the end of the day, if the goal isn't in this process to help them get better or to accomplish their goals, the goal is for you to get better, accomplish your goals, and to get better as a leader. And it's okay to articulate that so that you are clear with them on the goal of having this relationship. As long as you are clear with that and you're not subverting it or kind of hiding that fact and then expecting them to be honest with you, that will never happen. You have to be honest with them up front about what the process is and what you're trying to do here. And there has to be a quid pro quo, right? In exchange for what they're doing for you and helping you get better, this is what you're committed to doing. Well, I want to be seen as this, so I'm going to be doing this to help you do this. I want to be seen as someone who helps a person accomplish their goals. Well, what's your goal? Your goal has nothing to do with the organization. It has to do with your personal life. So watch me be committed to doing those things for you. And then I'm going to ask you along the way, do you think my actions are actually in the spirit of that? Is how I'm showing up aligned with how I say I want to show up? Because those are the people that have different goals with you are the ones that are going to be most able to tell you whether or not you're showing up in that way.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to this episode's 1 Minute Hack. But first, a few words from our sponsors.
All right, this episode's 1 Minute Hack is about identifying the people that you can keep within your circle that will help you make sure that how you want to be seen and how you see yourself in the mirror, that is an accurate reflection, that your self-awareness is good because the way that you come off to other people is aligned with how you see yourself, because that's a way to judge your own self-awareness. And the best way to do that is to find people who are genuinely curious about whatever situation that you're in. And so we've all been in a room where someone raises their hand and asks a question, but the question is not rooted in genuine curiosity. It's rooted in that they want to be able to say what they know the answer to be already, or they phrase the question in a way that is intended to show the group that they know the way forward. It's like a fake question. That isn't the right thing. Genuine curiosity starts with, I don't know the answer, whether they say that or not. Like if a question is asked in a way that leads you to believe that a person is okay with being vulnerable enough to say they don't know the answer, so they're being curious about this thing, that vulnerability shown by that person is also the level of vulnerability that will be needed to say, hey, you know what? Our goals may not be aligned here. Like, you have different goals than I do, but you have the vulnerability necessary to say that you're okay with that you're confident in who you are as a person. And if you're confident in who you are as a person and you're okay with being vulnerable, then you might be the kind of person who will be honest and straightforward with me about how I come off as a leader, about how people see me as a leader. And it's something that can't be kind of judged in a single interaction. You have to have multiple interactions with multiple people over a long period of time, and your circle will change over time. But that's a good thing. If your circle isn't changing, that is an inherent problem in and of itself. If you're looking for people who can constantly help you make sure that how you see yourself is how they see you, and you're inviting people in based on that curiosity and that vulnerability, then you're on the right track to making sure that when you get feedback from people about how you can be a better leader, about the things that you do that don't show up the right way, you can be confident that that's real feedback rooted in a genuine desire to help you get better, because you've articulated that you're trying to get better and you want to make sure that the feedback they're giving you is honest and not from a self-serving standpoint, but from a standpoint of they actually want to see you get better, because you being better at what you say you're going to do actually helps them as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great 1 minute hack. And I think that it's so important to, like, to your point, like, finding people to help you with this. There are some things that you're going to have to consider. Now, maybe you don't have that as an option. Maybe if you are a new leader to a team, maybe the people that you are leading this is their first job that they've ever had. Maybe the most of people on your team are maybe they're going to school. Maybe they have other priorities. They're not fully kind of invested, and or maybe they just don't have the experience yet in life to be able to have a sense of who they are and what they're doing, to your point. Like, I think that this is going to take some time to think through, but the important thing is here, you've got to find people that can help provide you perspective, thoughts, insights, feedback, whatever, and they come from different angles. Like, that's the most important thing here. And as you're thinking about who are those people, you do have to have some type of a vetting process. And that's going to be like, you got to find people that kind of care enough to want to better themselves. You got to find people that, to your point, have a curiosity of asking questions and wanting to support and help people. There's nothing more frustrating than like trying to engage with somebody and they have no interest in talking to you about it, or they're just like, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah, whatever. Like if they're passive, they're disengaged. It's not really helpful. So I think that the biggest thing for me in kind of the episode is make sure that you've got diverse perspectives that are helping you, but also make sure that those perspectives are coming from a place of truly wanting to help, shape the leader that you are and are invested in wanting to help you.
Right. And then bottom line too is, if you're going through this process, you're starting with the assumption that there's something about you that you want to change or get better at. And if you've invited somebody in because they're the right person to help you get through this process and they're giving you feedback, that has to involve some change out of you. If the feedback they're giving is that this needs to change, or this showed up in the wrong way, or this could have been done differently, they may not have all the answers, but if the feedback they're giving you is not validating, if they're telling you that how you want to show up is different than how you're actually showing up, your reaction to that can't be defensive. It has to come with an actual change. And it's okay to not know how to do that and to ask them. Because if you're saying to yourself, if you're thinking to yourself, well, that's ridiculous feedback, and then you don't change anything, they will become a person who goes from being able to give you that feedback to not caring enough to give it to you to begin with. They'll disengage because they're not going to waste their time over a long period of time giving you feedback if it's not going to result in any changes. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that you might have the way forward on how to change. It just means you have to lend credibility to that feedback when you get it, that says, okay, something has to change here. And then if you're unclear on how to change it, engage them again. Ask them ask them to tell you how they would have preferred to hear something, or how something should have been changed going forward, how you should have done something differently, and then actually change it in that way to meet them where they are, because the more you try to say, oh, that feedback that you gave me on how I could have done this differently, let me explain to you how I actually was doing it in that way. You just didn't see it that way. That you're essentially telling them that the feedback they're giving you is not valid to begin with, and then they're gonna lose the interest to begin with. So when you ask for that feedback and they give it to you, either if it's clear to you that something needs to change, then go ahead and change it. If it's not clear how, ask them how it could be seen differently. Sometimes when we know that there's a thing that we have to change about ourselves, it kind of gives that spidey sense, and then we get defensive and we don't want to actually make the change. So we rephrase it in our own brain as that, oh, they're wrong. It's like, no, they're not wrong by definition if they've said it. And so if there's more context they can lend to you about how you can do things differently, then ask for that context, so that you're more likely to keep them engaged in those conversations going forward.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you all next time.